Hello, YouTube, and welcome to the In Your Head podcast. I'm your host, Jesse, and with me on the couch today, Shane Costales. Shane,
What's going on,
how
man?
are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
It's been a while since I've seen you, so we kind of
It
drug
has
you
been.
out of the woodwork to have you here
out
on the
of
couch.
The mean streets of Roxborough,
Ooh,
Philadelphia.
having fun parking on the hills this winter in the ice?
Oh, it was a nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
I remember going up to your place when we helped you move in.
In the summer, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah, and I can't even imagine what it's like on some of the freezing rain roads that have been going on this winter that everybody's probably familiar with right now.
It's pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Like normal, like people can't drive in the snow normally, but then when you add hills,
I think my fear of Manayunk is just you park on the hill and that happens and your car's gone in the morning.
pretty much like you better make sure your e-brake works.
Well, even if it does, I mean, some of these roads have been so icy, and from what I've seen, it's the stuff coming tomorrow may not be any better. It could just slide away.
Yeah.
I've seen, you've seen videos online where a guy tries to stop on a hill and it's just gone. See ya.
God, I wish my car would just slide away. I pay way too much for it.
It would do you a favor if it just slid into the squiggle.
I would do an Irish jig. I would come out of my house and just start dancing. It's a sight.
There's probably one street on Manayunk where people park their cars on icy days just to hope that it slides down into the squiggle.
Come on, full coverage. Come on, full coverage.
Well, and we'll get into that chant later because I do want to talk to you about that and being somebody who gambles. Well, is around gambling.
I'm around gambling.
But right. But I gotta get I gotta get your intro question before we get you on the podcast. I gotta ask you our statute of initiation, which you're familiar with. Which I need you to bring a story that something you may have done that's marginally illegal or something along those lines you might not be terribly proud of that you've done.
Okay. This will probably preface a lot of things that we'll talk about. But I was about 19 years old, and I got invited to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
Now, I had played before, but I never had the book. And specifically, it was a Pathfinder book.
Okay.
And they're fairly expensive.
So you're not talking D&D. You are talking Pathfinder.
I'm talking Pathfinder,
Okay.
which is like 3.5, but better.
Okay.
And I was 19, and I was broke, and they're like, you absolutely need a book if you want to play. This was before the days of like having like PDFs on your smartphone,
Right,
and stuff like that. So I needed a book, and I was looking. I went to a Borders.
now you're really dating the story.
Well, I went to a Borders. In fact, it was on Route 38 in Mount Laurel. Excuse me. And
I shouldn't give my guests carbonated drinks, by the way. That's my fault.
Yeah, it's all right. But looking at this book, I'm like, all right, yeah, this is a lot bigger than the D&D book. This is great. What's the price tag? $50? What? Now, I was thinking about I was like, man, I'm gonna put this back. I can't afford this. I'm probably not gonna play this game until I just scratched off the little censor thing and just took the book. And then I played as the rogue, which I felt was fitting. Because I stole my first D&D book. And am I proud of stealing? No. No, I'm not.
Most people aren't. Most people tend to grow out of it. But
yeah, I mean, I had definitely stolen stuff before. But this one was like one of those things where I was like, I enjoyed it, and then I was like, man, I should have just paid for it. But it put me on the course of playing the rogue forever, because that's now what I am. I'm always the party's rogue, and I'm pretty good at it. But that is interesting because I did want to talk about D&D at some point, but but wow, it's so. How had you ever done anything like that big before, or was it little stuff? I mean, because you mentioned like, well, yeah, I had a little klepto phase when I was like 17, 18. Used to steal from Walmart because I felt like they were a soulless company, so it would be okay to steal from them. And I used to steal like video games and like high-end electronics.
Oh, okay.
And
so we went big. Okay.
We went big, and until I almost got caught. And I remember it felt like a heist because I had like a getaway driver.
Oh, wow.
And like a lookout. And
Because what we used to do was Walmart always had the 2 entrance and exits, and then they had that one center one that they would bring the carts in from that didn't have any sensors. So you could just walk out the front door without ringing up anything, or walk out through that little cart door. Nobody would say anything, and people did it all the time.
Yeah.
So that's what we used to do.
So take note, folks, because just like episode 1, as Jeff showed you, there's definitely always ways to get around the security. I'm not condoning this, please, for God's sake.
Oh yeah, neither am I. I definitely grew out of that phase.
Yeah, and it's good to see you did, because back in episode 1, my buddy Jeff used to knock over Blockbuster videos.
Oh, it's a shame. Come on, Blockbuster doesn't deserve that.
Well,
still from West Coast, nobody cared about them.
Well, they all went away, so it doesn't really matter.
It's a shame.
But so then I guess, but then if you were doing stuff like that, why was the book why did it feel like such a difference to you then?
I guess
because you'd already gotten away from it, and it was just like that time where you're like, oh wait, but
now I have this book, and I really enjoy, like, when I would steal video games and high-end electronics from Walmart, I didn't feel any regret because I was a kid, and now I got this video game. Great. Usually they were really bad video games anyways, but, like, I got this D&D book, and it was something I liked, and I felt like a fraud because I'd stolen it. And I guess, like, middle path karmic balance stuff, I feel like you have to work that out and fix that. So
makes sense.
I feel like I have over the years, but that is something I mildly regret.
No,
I haven't really done too many illegal things or stuff
that's
I regret, but that's like the best one that definitely appeals to my character.
Yeah, no, it's perfect for the D&D bit of what I'm probably going to talk about at some point during this. But during the beginning of this, I did mention something about a casino.
Yes.
So you are a casino dealer.
Yes.
I don't want to have to say where, but you're a casino dealer. I don't want to get in any trouble or get.
No, it's okay.
It's not like we're really doing anything crazy, but
right. It's a casino in the local Philadelphia area.
Yeah. So you're a casino dealer, and so you had dealt before, from what I remember.
Yes. Got out of the business for a few years. Worked as a chef, but before that, I had worked at 2 other casinos.
Okay.
In the Philadelphia area and in Connecticut.
Oh, wow.
So that was where I started, actually, was Connecticut.
How are the casinos in Connecticut? Because I see them on TV, but...
Well, there are 2 big ones, and I'll say their names because I don't work for them. It's been years. There's Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods Casino. Now, they're both Native American-run casinos. They're both on reservations. And they're pretty much like if you took Disney World and put gambling and booze in it. They're gigantic. They have malls in them. They're like... I remember Mohegan literally has like a little crappy version of Chuck E. Cheese in there. So like you take your kids there.
Wow.
It was huge, and that's why I got a job there. My uncle worked there. He got me a job. They're always hiring people.
It sounds like with that much staff needed, yeah.
Oh yeah, it is massive. Like
wow.
But they were you know, I hated it when I did work there, but now I look back on it and I'm like, that really wasn't a bad job compared to the other 2 casinos, the one I currently work at and the one I used to work at.
I think a lot of people feel that way about the place where they work, and they're like, you're miserable about it, and then you get another job and you're like, oh, this wasn't so bad at all.
Yeah, it really wasn't that bad.
So, yeah, a lot of people kind of see that. I know it's happened to me before with jobs, and some of which I've had, which actually brings me to another story. I'm going to come back to the casino thing in a minute, but casinos and previous jobs, this actually reminds me of a funny story between us that I'm going to bring up that we didn't know about. So this is a little aside for our viewers, but I have to air it because I think it's hilarious. So when we were moving Shane, Ramon, our previous guest from episode 10, we were moving Shane into his new apartment, and we were hanging out, just talking afterwards. We were just meandering around the house, unloading stuff, and I had mentioned about where I had previously worked, long time ago, ages ago, down in Atlantic City, and I'd worked for the TSA, long time ago. And Shane says, do you know a guy named Sean? And I said, I think I might. Do you have a picture? I said, I can't remember names. It's been, oh my God, forever. I mean, this was 15 years ago, so 14 years ago that I worked there.
And he's like, oh, yeah, you know this guy? And he shows me a picture. And I was like, yeah, who is that? He's like, that's my dad. I apparently worked with his dad 14 years ago at the Atlantic City airport when I worked for the TSA, and it was the funniest thing because, like, it was just a weird connection that we never knew we had, and it was just one of those strange moments, like those small world moments that just freak you out. Like, oh my, it just keeps cycling, and it makes you feel so.
I was, when you had said that you worked at the TSA in Atlantic City, and I was like 14 years ago, I thought about him like you've had to have worked with him.
Yeah.
And on top of that, my dad is a character. He just walks into places and just opens his mouth, and you either love him or you hate him. And as soon as you said you worked there, I was like, you have to know this guy. And he hasn't really changed. He's looked the same.
Yeah, he did, because you showed me the picture, and I was like, yeah, I remember working with him. When you would think that if you showed me a picture of a guy 14 years later, I might be a little, maybe. But no, you showed me the picture. Yeah, and I swear to God, I knew immediately. And I just found that as funny that that we had that weird connection. And we talked, like I said, it was right down by the casinos, because that's where most of those guys wandered out from.
And it's funny because my dad at that time, when he got the job at the TSA, actually wasn't in the casino business at that time. He had taken a break. Before he worked at the TSA, I remember he worked in bail bonds briefly with my godfather. And they had worked together, but that didn't work out. So then he started this job at the TSA because the TSA was hiring.
Yeah.
This is post 9/11.
Yeah, it was just post 9/11, probably about a year after 9/11, so probably 2002, I would say, because, they had the time that after everything happened, there was a turnover, and then they were like, we need to switch the airports over, and then they did, and they put out the call, and that's about when we all came in.
A lot of people got jobs.
Yeah, it all kind of came in at once. It was like, we had 3 shifts. They all came in, and that was, we came in as this big cruise, and that's what it was. So, like, one big, like, here you go. Here's 80 employees. Enjoy. And that's what happened to, that's how we ran. That's how the place got run. So, it was fun. It was a fun time. I'm not going to lie.
I can only imagine working with my father.
He was a good guy. I mean, a lot of us, I'm not going to sit and say we were screw-offs. We weren't. But it was a quieter airport. But we knew how to have fun and pass the time and still do our jobs.
Yeah, you have to.
So, because Atlantic City Airport back then there was times where it was just 2-3 hours of nothing.
I've been in that airport. I've drank at that airport bar, and it is,
I'm sorry,
pretty quiet.
Yeah, and it does get quiet. I mean, but it's gotten a lot bigger. Right. Since then, so you've probably been there after it got bigger, because all it used to be was Spirit.
Yeah. Oh,
so that was all it was Spirit, maybe 2 Delta flights every so often, and a bunch of junkets that would bring in a bunch of degenerate gamblers from somewhere.
Only imagine.
It was amazing, and I know your dad used to love it, but they were some just amazing degenerate gamblers, watching a plane full of happy, smiling, bright people, and seeing them 2 days later, the most whipped, beat-down looking human beings you've ever seen in your life.
I have some stories about my recent return to the business. The casino that I work at now is unlike any other casino I've ever been to or worked in. I personally don't gamble.
Okay.
I can thank working in the business for that.
Right.
Like, I have enough vices as it is. Gambling is not one of them. That's great.
Which is nice. Yeah.
I dodged that bullet. But I have seen some weird stuff I've only worked in this casino for 5 months.
Okay.
And I've seen some strange. There was a man literally covered in dirt. Like Pigpen from the fucking Peanuts. Like, a cloud of dirt came off of him when he sat down, and he's just all dirty, and I was shocked that, like, my floor let him play, and I was like, he either came from work or home. This is the only 2 places that you get covered in that much dirt. And then he started complaining, like, halfway into, like, the money he brought in, he started losing. He's like, "Can I get some good cards?"
Was he playing on? Oh, so he's playing a table. Okay.
He was playing a table game, and he's like, "Can I get some good cards?" And it just came out of my mouth. I was just like, "Can you go take a shower?"
Oh.
and then somebody at the table just loses and starts laughing. And somebody else was just like, "You're covered in dirt, dog. Take a shower." and I felt bad because the guy just got up and left. But like, all right, you know what? If this guy was like obese and somebody made a fat joke, that would be a reason to get up and be self-conscious.
Yeah.
Or like if somebody like had like some weird thing about them that like they're self-conscious about, that's one thing. But when you're covered in dirt because you didn't shower, you should not feel self-conscious about that. You should be like, "Man, he's right. I should go take a shower."
Yeah, and you decided to wander into a casino.
Right. Like you wanted to gamble that bad that you couldn't bathe.
Yeah.
That's insane to me.
No, it makes perfect sense, and it seems like he got so much better to do. And again, like we mentioned, degenerate gamblers, they're out there, and you see that, and it's. I mean, I'm sure the stories you could tell. I could make a 3-hour podcast out of this.
I'll give you the two spectrums.
Okay.
I've seen somebody who tells everybody, "Bless your heart," like I love God, I read the Bible and all that, who is a monster to casino employees and to other players.
Wow.
Who's just an abhorrent person that I feel like hides behind the fact that they go to church. Like people that go to church, like, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you need to make you feel like you're doing a good thing, or that's something you believe in, good for you, man.
Yeah.
But like when you use it so that as an excuse to be a shithead to people, I feel like that's morally wrong. That's more wrong than my second person. The nicest person I've ever dealt to. I was in a high limit room. I can't use any names.
That's fine.
I will change the names to protect the innocent. But this older Italian man came in, and I knew this because he had a little bit of an accent, and he was talking about Italy and all the great stuff about it. And you know what? This man was betting thousands of dollars a hand. By the way, not to mention the person that was an asshole in my previous thing, betting about $15 a hand.
Okay.
This person's betting $1,000 a hand. And he's winning some, he's losing a lot, and then he'd win a bit, and he'd lose a bit. Never once did he raise his voice or be a jerk or anything like that. Just the nicest human being I've ever had to deal with. He was funny, he tipped well, he was just the nicest dude ever. And that was when my floor told me, "Do you know who that is?" I went, "No." And he goes, "That's Jimmy the Shotgun." And I went, "Why do they call him Jimmy the Shotgun?" They're like, "He killed 6 people on a street corner with a shotgun." He was a mob hitman.
Oh, cool.
Who did time, but also testified against organized crime.
Oh, okay.
And it was allegedly killed 6 people with a shotgun.
Okay, yeah, you got to remember the allegedly part.
Allegedly. But this man is an alleged mass murderer, and he's the nicest human being I've ever dealt to, versus the person that is quoting scripture who was just
horrible human
utterly
being.
Horrible to be around, just a miserable person to be around.
Yeah.
And that's the weird part about the casino. You get to witness that on a daily basis.
Wow.
It can be soul-crushing. It can be miserable. But there's no other job like it in the world. It is a special breed of asshole that you get to deal with regularly. Now, that being said, it's a very good paying job. You need almost no qualifications to do it.
Except for, well, I mean, how about like record-wise?
Well,
like what did they let in to that? I mean, like what gets you disqualified from getting your gambling license?
So, can't have a criminal record.
Okay, so anything criminal, any criminal charges, no gambling, gambling license.
Like any felony charges, no. I think misdemeanors, if they've been expunged or like you know they were so minor, like it wasn't a big deal, they'll let you go with that. But if like you were convicted of felony, it's very hard to get a gaming license. Certain states you can. Some states you need a decent credit score.
Which makes sense.
Because they want to make sure you're not a gambler, or that you're in massive amounts of debt, because that means you may be more
you're a
inclined
liability.
you're a liability, and you may be more inclined to possibly take from the casino.
Yeah, which going back to the TSA, that was something they did to all of us when we went through the TSA. It was, they needed to do a credit check, and there was a couple people who got, didn't make it through the initial qualifications because they had bankruptcies and things like that. And it's like, because they're more liable to take a bribe. If somebody comes in there and says, hey, I know you had some rough times, if you help me cheat, or obviously in your case, if you help me cheat, they'll be like, but if you have a liability, somebody comes up to you and your money's horrible, and they say, hey, I'll give you $100,000 if you just let this bag through.
Right, yeah.
So you're you're more of a liability than somebody who's doesn't have any problem.
Right.
And so I can see that makes pretty good sense, actually, because I know that they worry about that a lot of the stuff that happens goes on from inside.
Yeah. Like, most people that walk into a casino pretty much have zero to very little to no chance of actually getting away with robbing a casino.
Yeah.
Whereas any successful casino robbery has been foiled because it was from within.
Yeah.
Like, it's as simple as that. But even if it was successful, it eventually got caught. Because you can't get away with stuff like that. And that's just how it is. It literally is a time-tested and proven system that they run. And that's kind of interesting when you look at it. And, like, just in a level of security.
Yeah.
I find it kind of neat.
You see it in a lot of movies. I mean, I know they make fun of it and they pick it apart in movies like Ocean's 11 and stuff like that, but seeing what they do and the levels of checks and things like that they go through, and I'm not even in the the outer layers of what I know compared to probably what you do, but it's to see what goes through and all the levels, and just from the eyes in the sky, watching the dealers and how the pit bosses watch it. And I mean, there's so much going on. There's so much movement and so much happening at the same time.
There's government jobs that don't nearly have as much
that's
security as a casino, because a casino is in the business of making money.
Yeah,
that is what they do. That is all they do. Like, these are games of chance, and nobody can open a casino unless you have a large amount of money.
Right.
Like, it's one of the few businesses that's what you need.
Is what they said. So this is a question then. I guess I could have researched this, but it's more fun to ask it. The scene in Ocean's 11 where they say you have to have every dollar in reserve in the casino to cover every chip on the floor.
I would believe that, yes.
Okay. I didn't know if that was like a real thing or if that was like just something. No, we're going to say it because. So if it has to cover every chip on the floor.
Every chip that is in that building has to be covered by some type of monetary like backing.
That makes sense. Okay, that's what I wanted.
I don't know what it could be. It could be money. It could be gold. It could be whatever. Probably not gold.
No.
The gold standard hasn't been around for.
Yeah, that's kind of gone.
Yeah, it's been forever.
But it makes sense that it would have to be covered in some payable shape or form.
Most likely investors, honestly. People who buy into a casino to get a piece of the profit. Most likely.
Yeah, it's got to be nice to be a casino investor. That would be a good
That's
day.
also something you need a lot of money to do.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm not going to get in for $1,000 and hope to get a return. That's not going to happen. So this is seeing as I met you at High Note Humor. Again, I'm going to bring it up, guys. Yep, get used to it. I met you at High Note Humor. I've seen you do some stand-up. I know you've been out of the stand-up game for a little while, but I do have an interesting stand-up question that kind of came to mind. So I've always thought dealing would be interesting. I mean, I'm pretty good with cards. I'm pretty good with people, but seeing dealers and what they do is overwhelming. I mean, I think it's absolutely fucking insane. Like, for no better words, just to watch. I mean, I play craps. I'm not really a gambler, but
you play the best game in the house.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that right now.
And
even dealers love that game.
Yeah, but I can't fucking follow anything. These guys are amazing. They are gods with what's going on. And when you first got your job again at the casino, you mentioned you're like, oh, I'm going to be working this shift. It's the busier shift. So, like you said, they put all new dealers on that shift.
Yes.
So, to me, well, I guess what I'm wondering is, what was the harder thing for you to do? To walk out on stage that first time doing stand-up, or that first night as a dealer, and the pressure that was on in that?
Okay. That's a very good question, and I can quote another comic from the area. There's comic Simply D. I don't know if you've ever met him. I haven't seen him in years, but
No.
when I was first doing comedy, I asked him, "What's the best advice you can give to a comedian?" And D said this to me. He said, "I've been to prison, and I've done comedy. Comedy is harder." And he's 100% correct. Getting up on stage and telling jokes to a room full of people, I think, is one of the hardest things anybody can do. And it's a testament to somebody who can just get up and do it and then continue to do it, even if they're good or not, or they want to hone their craft or anything. That's a testament to somebody that honestly wants to do that, and it's very hard. And I have to answer your question with getting up on stage for the first time is probably the hardest thing, because the thing is, nothing can prepare you for that. When you're in dealing school, it's like when you learn blackjack or really any game, it's about 4 to 6 weeks. The first week is spent actually learning how to do it. The other 3 weeks is reinforcing that to the point where it becomes muscle memory. Because to the point where you can look at a stack of chips and you can immediately know what it is without breaking it down, or like, oh, it's $35. What does blackjack pay? $52.50. You can just say it. You don't even have to think about it. And that's the bet plus half the bet. And you just learn how to do that over time. Honestly, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm not good at math or anything." I almost failed math in school, in grade school. I actually failed it in college twice. Mostly for not showing up to class.
Well,
but
so that doesn't say much for your math skills.
But most of it's color coordination and chip coordination. So you're like, all right, this color chip pays this much in other stuff and stuff like that. And like when you look at a stack, you always see that the dealers have those things in stacks. Those stacks are a certain denomination. So like a stack of red is $100.
Right, because they're usually stacks of 20.
Yeah, stacks of 20 chips. That's $100 for the $5 chips. That's $500 for the green chips. Some places have yellow chips that are $20. That's $400. So you just have to know that, and and that makes the job easier. Anybody could do it. I could teach a child to deal blackjack as long as I could have something to relate it to.
Yeah,
but it really isn't as hard as craps is a very hard game, because craps is people like. You have, you bet your points and stuff like that. You bet the pass or the come bet and stuff like that. But you also have prop bets, horn bets, all that stuff. And that's when the game gets insane.
Yeah. I could probably deal just regular craps. I could figure that out and know what, learn the odds and learn what all that is, what the payouts are. And I could learn that. But watching how they go and keep everything moving with all the prop bets, all the, all the hard ways bets and everything like that, it's like I watch these guys and it's amazing. I mean, it makes sense that there's 3 of them on a table.
Right. And they work like a crew. It's almost like a pit crew. You have to trust the person next to you.
Yeah.
Because if you know they're good and you know they're going to get their payouts, the table will go faster, players will be happier, boxman will be happier. Everybody gets to go home and has a good job.
Yeah. I see. I was wondering about that, because I think I would get more anxiety when that first time that, you can be in the class and you can be dealing with people, but when I guess it's because I have anxiety with money in general.
I can understand that.
So so like my anxiety is with money. I don't like to think about money. I just like I don't spend a lot of money, but I just don't like to I don't like to think about it. So it's like when the bills are there, I'm just like, just get them paid. I don't care. Let's just get it done and that's it. So to me, when it's like money's on the line and a job with money, that would work me up, and that's why I had to wonder about that, because I wasn't quite sure what would be really the tougher thing. So
it at first it's a little daunting dealing with money, but then eventually it gets to the point where you can look at a couple $1,000. It's not your money. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you're good at your dealing job, your number one priority besides customer service is loss protection.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what your job becomes, is a loss protection job.
Right.
Which you just get very good situational awareness. You get to a point where you can look at a rack of chips and just know how much is in there.
Wow.
And
that's
yeah.
It's something, man. It's it's such a cool business. It really is.
It's a neat business, yeah.
There's a lot of fun going on. I mean, the stories of people that, like I said, the people I've seen
that. So I got to share this story then because it's hilarious, and you'll relate probably with it. So obviously you know most of the rules of TSA. I mean, you've flown. So even back in the day before it got really weird with the 3-ounce liquids and all that crap. But what was like rule 1 that you couldn't bring on an airplane when it first came out was no sharp shit.
Yeah.
That was like, they don't want you to have sharp shit. So we had this whole junket flight of broken down, beat up gamblers that have just been, totally stolen all their money pretty much because they just don't know how to gamble usually. So they come down there and they're all beat up and tired looking in line. And we get this first bag, comes through the x-ray, and it's a bag full of knives.
Oh my God.
I mean, fucking full of knives. And I'm like, so I'm on the x-ray bag with my supervisor, who was one of the funniest men I'd ever known. And I watched his eyes get about as big as dinner plates. And he just was like, what? Like, just looking at it, it's like, that's not good. And so it comes out, and we grab the bag, and it's like, whose bag is this? And they're like, it was mine. I'm like, and so he takes it over.
Was it Danny Trejo in Desperado?
Oh, no. It gets better. Trust me. This story gets much better. So he takes the bag aside, and he checks it with the guy. And I'm looking over because the second person was still getting ready, and he pulls it out, and it's this whole knife set that they had given out to this guy. So it's like, oh, he got this whole knife set. He's like, you can't take this on the plane. And the guy's like, I didn't open it. I'm like, oh, so this little piece of tape means that it's secure, and you can take it on the airplane. We're like, you got to check this. You can't take this in the plane. You can't take this on board. Well, the next bag came through.
Another knife set.
Another knife set.
Oh.
And I was like, hey, boss, we got another one of these. And he comes through, and he's like, hold on. And he looks back at about 40 people all standing in line, and he goes, who got a knife set from the casino? And everyone shot their hands up. And we're like, who has them in their bag? They all shot their hands up. It's like, ain't gonna happen, folks. Y'all gotta. They're like, but it's sealed. Yeah, with a piece of tape.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Either A, the casino just told them, yeah, it's fine. You can put it on a plane. Nobody cares. Or B, they just put that in their bag and didn't think about it until they walked up there and was like, I'll be fine. This will be okay.
Well, to be fair, because they only go down for 2 days.
Right.
So they went with just this reasonably sized carry-on thing, and it's a flat-packed thing of knives. So they just went with that. They didn't check stuff.
Right.
The junket wouldn't usually check things. So they had their bag for the 2 days. They carry it on. They carry it off. It gets them out of there faster. They don't have to go through baggage handling, and they're gone. Well, they were just like, oh, I'll just carry my shit back on. You had a plane full of drunk, degenerate gamblers
with knives,
all with bags full of
my
knives.
Worst nightmare.
I mean, it would have made for a hell of a story. I mean, snakes on a plane would have been nothing. It would have been fucking knives on a plane.
Gamblers with knives on a plane.
Maybe I should cut this. We should write this script. I think it could be something worth writing.
It's ridiculous.
You may have to ask your dad the story. I think he may.
I might.
He may
have
know
to ask
this
him
one.
about that.
He may know that story.
I'll probably call him as soon as it's over.
Because it was a great story, and it was so funny to see looks on their faces.
Christ almighty.
Because they were mad at us. Like, we weren't just going to let a plane of 40 people with knives on it at 35,000 feet. I'm like, are you nuts? And I got it back in the day. It's like, oh, you can have a knife. Like, back in the day, I was like, oh, you had your pocket knife if it wasn't, like, too big. I was like, okay, big deal. And it was like, okay, yeah, maybe that's not bad. But bags full of knives, I think each one was like a full cutlery set. Like a cutting block full, like a knife block full of knives. That's what it was. And everyone was like,
that's incredible.
It was beautiful. It wasn't like one. It was.
That's the best word for it. Beautiful.
It was.
Just, oh God. Gamblers are, they just don't think about that. They're just either depressed because they lost their money, or they're not happy. You'll never meet a happy gambler.
No.
Like somebody that's like, I gamble, like I go to the casino all the time. They're never happy. Even when they win, they're not happy because they're not playing to win. They're playing because it's an addiction.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about my job I don't like. I feel like if you ever read about like Buddhism and the middle path, and it's always like to do a job that might be hurtful to others, it requires a certain karmic balance eventually. Like, you're going to have to pay for that. though I'm just a dealer, I'm not actually doing anything.
Yeah, I know it's hard.
I feel like I am, and I feel like when this is said and done, when I no longer work in the casino business, I have to set a balance to my life. Not that I am a Buddhist or believe in these things, but that to me spoke volumes when I read that or heard that. It was just, yeah, what I'm doing hurts a lot of people. Now, am I hurting them? No, it's not like I'm a drug dealer or something like that, where like you're like the big difference between like a drug dealer and a casino dealer, even though it's funny because they
both
have the
dealers,
both dealers in some way, but a drug dealer is mostly profiting off of something that is illicit and can be physically harmful to people. There's a very clear difference between the game of blackjack and heroin.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'd say there's pretty clear.
Like, heroin will kill you. Gambling, you probably need to get some help.
Yeah.
And as long as it doesn't get that bad, you hopefully don't, like, try to kill yourself or something because of that. I think gambling's horrible. I would rather hang out with a room full of crackheads versus a room full of gamblers. That is personal.
Okay. That's
I would at least crackheads are sleepy. Like, I don't need to babysit them. Whereas, like, a gambler, you're part babysitter, part security guard, and part pusher. That's your job.
Wow, that's a hell of a way of looking at it.
It's the cynical way of looking at it.
Yeah, but it's the real way, though.
It's the very, very real way.
You got to be real with yourself, which is good that you are.
Yeah.
It is good that you see what it is. Some people just wouldn't care. They're just like, I'm getting paid.
And that's the thing. Like, there is a lot of people like that in the business. And you know what? If that's how they can get through it and do it, everybody has their own coping mechanism. Casino dealers, when they get out of the business, all look like battered puppies. Like, we've seen some shit. We've been through some shit.
Everybody's got the 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, really. Like we've been to fucking war. And the thing is, that's because, like, we don't get paid good money because, like, the job's hard. The job's very easy. Like, especially when you've done it for more than a few months, it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
It's a very easy job. Why we get paid the money we get paid with is because of the things we deal with. We deal with somebody coming in to gamble away the last of the money that they have that should be used for rent, food, their kids. We deal with people saying the worst things imaginable to us because they're upset, because they're angry, and we can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
Now, if you're smart, funny, and clever, you can sometimes figure out a way to maybe get a witty thrown in there and stuff. My favorite is somebody's yelling at me on a holiday, and I just Merry Christmas as they just lost $1,000. Like, there's no drug in the world that can recreate that kind of feeling. Yeah,
it is. It's a hell of a biz, man, and I respect you for being able to do that. As a guy who goes to the casino with like $40.
And you're there to have fun.
Yeah,
That's the difference.
Yeah, I'll sit at the slots, and it pisses me off that I can't find more. I know you said earlier, like, oh, there's these idiots that sit at the $15 table. It pisses me off that I can't find a $5 blackjack table.
No.
And, because I would just sit there and play blackjack. I'd play blackjack for $5,
yeah.
and, and that would
as long as you're there to have fun, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And the problem is, a lot of people that don't gamble, that's what they imagine the casino is. It's like, when I try to tell people, like, I work at a casino, they're like, oh, that sounds like a blast. And I'm like, that's because you go there, like, on your anniversary, or because, like, it's somebody's bachelor party, or, like, you're in the area, and you're like, why don't we go? It'll be fun.
Right.
We go see a show. Like, if you go to Vegas, you can go see a show.
Yeah.
You can do all this fun stuff besides gambling. Gambling's almost secondary to all of these things.
Yeah, which is why the casinos in Connecticut probably, if I look back at the video, my eyes widened greatly when you said it.
Right, and here's the thing. At least the casinos in Connecticut are in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing to do. So people do go to the casino. Like, the best idea is to build a resort in the middle of nowhere because that will draw people there.
Yeah.
The area is nice, and then you add a casino into it, and now they have something to do. And they had, like, an arena, so they had shows there. I remember I've seen several comedians at the Mohegan Sun Arena. They had tons of boxing matches,
Nice.
stuff like that, and it turned that whole area into like a hub of stuff, and that's cool.
Nice.
Whereas like you put a casino in a major metropolitan area, you're not going to attract the people that want to go to have fun.
Yeah.
The people that are going to a destination that happens to have a casino.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, you're attracting people that are like, well, I'm broke. Maybe I can go turn this $50 into $100 to feed my kids. And that's what it turns into. And that's it's not that I'm blaming those people, because I'm not, and it's not that I'm blaming the casino business, because I'm not. It's just they're very it's a slippery slope when you do that, when you open a casino in a major metropolitan area, because you can put up as much gambling awareness as you want. You can have people on the street being like, let me tell you how to properly gamble so that you don't develop an addiction. And it still won't. No,
it won't. I know. I mean, you can...
Because poor people are always going to try and find a way to not be poor. It's what we... I'm not a wealthy person. I'm not well to do. I get by. But even then, you're always looking for a way to move up. And the thing is, the casino seems like it's the easy route.
Right. It's different. Yeah, so I can see that somebody's going to be like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. As opposed to me and my wife that were like, we went New Year's Eve. We went to Atlantic City. We had $40 each.
And you had fun.
Yeah, we played some slots. We wandered around different casinos. We went and shopped for stuff in the beer shops, and it was a fun thing. We did go to Vegas a couple years ago because we could see the different shows, and I can see how it could work much better to be just in a resort thing where you don't have to gamble a lot. If we found a casino in Vegas, we're like, yeah, we'll play a couple slots here, and I played some craps, but I think maybe the whole trip to Vegas I lost $100 gambling.
Right.
And I wasn't like, okay, I wasn't too broken up about it. I mean, my dad made me play the Idiot's Wheel for him because I know you laugh at that game because my dad loves that game, and I'm sorry, Dad, if you're watching.
Are you
this.
talking about the big wheel?
Yes.
With that,
the
or are you talking
wheel.
about like roulette?
No, okay. The Idiot's Wheel.
The big. We call that the Big Six.
The Big Six.
The Big Six.
Why is it the Big Six?
Because it has 6 payouts on
it. Okay, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I just know it as most of the guys that had dealt in Atlantic City that came to the TSA call it the Idiot's Wheel.
Yeah, it's pretty. I'm going to say this: the casino I work at, I dealt that once there. Now, at every other casino I've worked at, the Idiot Wheel is like a night off because it's an easy game to deal. When I worked at Mohegan, it was great because they actually had 2 dealers on it. Wow. So it's like this big ass layout and 2 dealers. It was fun because you had like a partner and you could bullshit with them. You got to know somebody if you never met them before.
Yeah,
and that was fun because it's always fun to like sit and bullshit with a coworker, especially if you guys are doing the same job. Whereas at this place, it attracts the worst types of people because the game is $2. Like Mohegan, the minimum is $5.
Okay.
Whereas the minimum there is like, and the people here would scoff at $5. I'm not playing this. Like, they're like, I want my $2. Like the kid in Better Off Dead. Like, it's ridiculous. And they think that we're cheating. They think that we have a break under. And all right, just to let your viewers know and everybody, as a casino dealer, we are not taught to cheat you. We are not. The games are designed to have a house edge. That is what they are. They are literal games of chance. I am not a magician. I am not a wizard, although I play one in D&D. I am just a kind of overweight dude from New Jersey who they have like be your blackjack dealer, and 9 times out of 10 I don't even know what to say to you. That's what it is. We're not cheating. We're not out to get you. Don't worry. When you need to be paranoid, you'll understand.
Yeah,
because they are out to get you.
A lot of people don't realize that all the games are built with a house edge, and they think it's just the way it is. It's so the casino can make money. If there was not a house edge, casinos would go away instantly.
Instantly, because it's not. They are just designed to give the house an edge. That is all. I kind of lost track when I was doing my little thing, staring in the camera. Just starting to just say nonsense, but
but it's true, and it's a shame that people don't see it, and that's how they.
Yeah, it's equal parts like I don't know how I lost, so I'm frustrated, and 2, I lost and I'm mad. So frustration and anger turn into they had to have cheated.
Yeah.
It's like your friend that's really good at this video game and just beats your ass all day, and you just assume that they cheat. And I'm like, it's not. It's just they play every day, and they're really good at it.
Yeah,
they've given themselves an edge.
Exactly, and you know what? I think that perfectly leads me into our next subject here. So I've asked all my guests, because I am a bit of a gamer and a bit of a geek. I ask everybody, what is your favorite video game?
I thought about this question because I've seen some of your previous episodes, and I had a game in mind. I'll say what the game was, but it's not my favorite video game. I was going to say The Witcher 3.
Okay.
That game changed me the first time I played it. I was like, this is incredible. It's a really good game. Until last night, I was on Steam, and I re-downloaded the Knights of the Old Republic series.
Oh, okay.
And I've decided that Knights of the Old Republic 2 is my favorite game of all time.
Okay.
Now, I know you're going to have viewers that are Star Wars fans or just RPG fans that are like, why didn't you pick the first one? The first one has a very good story. A better story than the second one. Okay. I'll say that. Better story than the second one. And it laid the foundation with the gameplay. It's pretty much Neverwinter Nights with Star Wars. When BioWare was at the top of their game.
Yeah.
But 2 was made by Obsidian, where all they did was take what BioWare did, added a fast travel system, and completely random drops, which somehow make the game better. Like, every playthrough, it makes the game replayable.
It's that Diablo feel
of
finding stuff.
Right. You get your sweet drops with, a good combat mechanic that's fun and everything like that. And I honestly like the characters more in the second game. I don't like what they do in the end with them, but I like the characters more.
Like you said, the story's
not as good as the first one. The first one is almost like a very standard fantasy, even Star Wars story. You're this protagonist, you get embroiled into this thing, and then the twist happens. Like when Luke finds out Darth Vader is his father.
Oh, spoilers.
Like right. And spoilers for Knights of the Old Republic. The whole idea is you're trying to defeat this Sith Lord who may have killed his master. Turns out you're his master.
Oh.
You were pretty much had a memory wipe, and your entire connection to the Force is cut off by the Jedi. You're actually Darth Revan, and then that's why it's a great game, because the first time you play it and get that is really cool. And I'm sorry if I spoiled it for anybody who's never played it. It's also like a 12-year-old game.
Yeah,
you really should have played it by now.
Yeah, I think at this point in time, if they didn't, they're not gonna. So.
Yeah, it's hard to even find a physical copy. You can get digital copies everywhere.
Yeah,
but the second game doesn't quite have that.
From the games I've talked about with people, it seems that balance of sorts of things can really make the debate of what makes the game that much better. We've had debate between I believe with Jeff Colella, we talked about between Fallout 3 and New Vegas.
Oh, that's
they
were high up contenders for this.
Yeah, and the two different things was you had so many more options with who you screwed around with in New Vegas. I mean, well, let's just say New Vegas and Fallout 4 then. I think that was the whole thing, because Fallout 4, it was just man, there's so many cool weapons and mods and things you can do. But your story doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's really which group of buttheads you want to hang around with.
Exactly. And on top of that, my biggest problem with 4 was that they gave your protagonist a voice. What did that do to benefit the story in any way? All it did was make a more streamlined story, which is not the point of any Bethesda Western RPG. The whole point of those games is to just plop you into this world and you kind of go do whatever you want. Do you want to go slay the dragon? Do you want to go stop the super mutants? That's what you do, it's never been about like I got to save the kids or I got to do this. Like
Yeah.
It's never been like a linear structured game. Like there is a main quest, which it behooves you to complete, but really the most fun part is just going throughout the world.
Right.
I don't feel like Fallout 4 has enough side quests.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit lacking. So, when you look at either, well, I guess my debate was always between Fallout 3 and New Vegas.
I agree with that.
And they added so much stuff to New Vegas, but I love the option of the good bad way, because the story always had an end, and it ended in the same place.
Cool.
It ended in the same place, but how you got there
always was different.
Yeah, you could, and again, it comes up. You could either help a town or wipe it off the map, like literally turn it into nothing.
Yeah.
So you had all those good bad choices, and I thought that was kind of a fun.
New Vegas was incredible to me because like three was a very good game, but it was you always end up in the same way. You couldn't really side with the Enclave. You could side with the president, but you didn't get like Enclave guys on your side.
Right.
And you could side with the Brotherhood of Steel, and that was cool. But that was pretty much the only people you can actually side with.
Yeah.
Whereas New Vegas, it was like you had Caesar's Legion, you had the Strip, you had Mr. House, you had the NCR.
Yeah.
And
you could determine who you wanted to befriend, and
right.
Usually the Boomers for me, because they had ordnance.
Cool.
Those guys.
I always liked the Boomers, and I was a very big fan of the Kings, because just an entire gang that thought they were Elvis was fascinating to me. It's like if that game wasn't set in the 50s, like in like a retro futurist 50s thing, what gang would form from like our time? Would there be like in the post-apocalypse like a gang of Justin Biebers running around?
Well, the way they justified it was funny.
Really well.
Oh man, that's terrifying, man. Don't say something like that. I love the way they justified that though, because they had the old records of the man who was the king, and it was just like, and it was perfect. I thought that was, and yeah, it would be.
It was really cool. I loved New Vegas a lot. That's probably one of my favorite games. They just released an update for it.
No kidding.
On Steam, yeah.
On Steam.
Like a graphics update, like where you can get like high texture, so it looks like a game now, which is pretty cool. Like, I mean, the fact that I don't know if that was fan made or if it was made by Bethesda, but I saw the look of it. I'm like, this game looks great, and it's a 10-year-old game. It came out in 2008.
Yeah, it aged well.
It aged
It aged really well. Which when I popped a couple PS1 games in recently, they did not.
I need to stop you for a second.
Oh,
I might be your first guest to have to do this.
Uh-oh.
I need to use the bathroom.
Oh, in the middle of recording.
In the middle of recording.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll have to hold this because I'm not going to put two videos together, so I can stall for a moment while you go to the head.
Okay, thank you. We'll be back after this.
So yeah, we're going to be back after these messages from me here. So do I have a good